Yeah.
Right on,
Here
man.
we are back with the Bad Filipino, your host, Myki Angeline. This is episode 5. And I have welcomed a very good friend and incredible person in the Sacramento music scene. Like, he's been in 72 bands and he mixes all music for all these other people. And he does all these awesome covers. And he even has his own YouTube channel, The Ruling Note, which goes over like all the idiosyncrasies and cool tips with gear. And he does this awesome. Okay, I'm gonna let him explain it because you did Metallica and it was so dope. So without further ado, I welcome Mike King to the show.
How you guys doing?
What's up?
What's
What's
going on?
up?
Not
Thanks
much,
for
man.
being here, yo.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Heck yeah. So let's go into so we'll start with a little intro on you so that those who don't know who you are understand why you're such a big deal. We can go over a little bit of your history with your music here in the sax scene, and then we'll end it with getting to your Ruling Note videos because those are super dope.
Oh, okay. All right. So I have been kind of active in the Sacramento music scene for a pretty good long time. I think 2004, 2005. I was in a band my first band that I was in was called Prylosis. We were together for close to 10 years, 9, 10 years. And we did quite a bit. And we were like more like a heavy rock kind of a thing for a while. I had a whole bunch of fun. And after we all moved on, I moved on to another project called Digital Havoc, which is more kind of like my flavor. It's kind of more straight ahead hard rock, but it's got some like electronic influence in there a little bit, you know. And I just kind of kept branching out and doing other stuff too. So around Sacramento, most people might recognize me as a sound guy. I've been around for a few years doing that. I was in a venue called the Back Nine. Shout out to Jared and all the crew there out there. And
I remember that.
yeah, and I had a great time there for a while, but I've also worked some other venues too, the Boardwalk. Last year, a lot of the time I was at Swabbies on the River, working with like a lot of really kick-ass like pro cover bands, like touring cover bands, different kind of stuff. So I had a lot of fun with that. But more recently, especially with kind of how everything hit and everybody's kind of at home, I've been doing home entertainment stuff. So I am part of a podcast called the Zenio Chronicles, and that one's more
That sounds
like
cool. What is that?
Are you familiar with the term Xennial at all?
Well,
Do you know what it means in general?
no.
Okay, so the term
I probably
Xennial,
should, and I don't.
some people joke about the term Xennial and say like it's kind of like millennials in denial. Um, but but
Okay, I dig
basically
that.
the older one of us so the technical actual like cusp, like the cutoff is like, I want to say it's like argued between Gen X and millennials is like 80, 81 ish, give or take. But there's this window of probably about 4 or 5 years between about 77 and about 83.
Okay.
And a lot of people that are born in that era, and I was born in 82. A lot of people born around there kind of see themselves socially fitting with Gen X in some areas, and other areas they see themselves fitting in with millennials.
Oh, okay.
A
Because
lot
there's
of us
that in
kind of,
between spot,
yeah, we're in the in between spot. We're like, we didn't
like being on the
exactly,
cusp of your astrological sign.
sort of, yeah, kind of like that. It's basically like if you were to say that, I don't know, it's almost like like Little House on the Prairie was having reruns,
Oh, geez.
but it was before everybody had a computer in their house.
Oh, geez.
Like
Yeah.
that's kind of like there's this space in time where these kids that were growing up kind of got the experience of both. Like you had a landline in the house.
Yeah. I
And
remember
you had
landlines,
to
rotary
remember
phones.
your parents' phone number and that kind
Yes.
of stuff. Like those experiences don't necessarily hit as hard with, like, say, the millennials as they do with Gen X. But
Ah,
at the
okay.
same
Okay.
time,
Okay.
Gen Xers may not have grown up with, Transformers, or definitely not with like Ninja Turtles as a cartoon thing, or the Dare program was something that Gen Xers fought against more so
Yeah.
than they did just have presented to them as children. And we had that experience where we were like right in between.
Well, because
So
I'm Gen X, so I agree.
Yes, yeah. So the idea is that Xennials in general tend to attach themselves to one side or the other, but neither completely on one end.
How funny.
So,
So
and we
you're
kind of have this
basically
little
the
window.
bisexual people of generations.
Yes,
Gotcha. Okay.
yeah, by
So then,
generational.
so then with that, I love that. So bi-generational. So with that podcast, I mean, that sounds really cool. I think I might want to listen to that. You're part of that, you said.
Yes, me and
Okay.
my buddy James, we are that. We have podcasts that come out every Thursday. We bust them every Thursday where
And it's called the
we
what?
record them every Monday. It's called the Zenio Chronicles. So you can go to the xennialchronicles.com and see and hear the podcast from the website. But we're also on like Spotify and TuneIn and Apple,
Cool.
and we got a YouTube page and all that kind of stuff. So that's mainly what we do. Our podcasts are between like an hour and a half, and we
Okay.
talk about the history behind a lot of the stuff that influenced us as kids, or just kind of like our opinion of the way that things are going right now. You know, we kind of go back and forth on that. So it's a lot of fun, and it's kind of like a nice thing to turn on and just kind of listen to while you're working on stuff in the house or something. I don't know,
I
driving to
think
work, that kind of
no,
thing.
I will. And you said it's all over because I'm going to add it to my Spotify for sure.
Yeah.
Because
We are
I'm
on
probably going to
Spotify,
relate to some of
so-
that stuff. So
Oh
is
yeah, for sure.
is that with an X or a Z?
With an X.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, I actually heard the term Xennial with a Z, which I actually thought was really funny because there's going to be those cuspers between the millennials and the Gen Zers,
Right.
and they're going to call themselves that. Like I'm calling it right now. I had a friend of mine call himself that. If AJ's listening, shout out to AJ. He said that, and that term stuck with me. Like he said that like a year and a half ago, and I was
Oh,
like,
geez.
that makes sense. So you're going to see those guys too, you know.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's gonna be
so
fun.
going back and forth, we're going to go back and forth with stuff with you. When it comes to the music, what was the latest thing that you released before the pandemic hit? I mean, were you doing performances live? Were you like in the studio in the middle of mixing something? Like, what was happening for you as a musician here in Sacramento before the quarantine and the shutdown took place?
I have a, running at my own pace type project called Digital Havoc.
Which I love, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. The one thing that we did for sure that's a full release right now is back in late 2017. We did a full length album that came out. It's called Welcome to the End. It's available on like all the streaming platforms, YouTube, Spotify, that kind of stuff. So it's there. That one was pretty. That one was probably the most recent thing that we've fully done. Aside from every once in a while, I would release like a music video or something like that that's somewhat related to it. For funsies on our YouTube page, Digital Havoc does have a YouTube page. So
Yes.
yeah, check us out there too. And that's pretty much it. Anything else musically, I was just kind of like dialing back because a lot of us in the band are kind of doing our own things too. Like the other members of the band that we have, like I've got Carl from Korean Fire Drill. He's my former Prylosis bandmate.
Love him.
He's absolutely awesome, and I swear I couldn't see myself being motivated to really do anything without him. I feel like I lock in with him real well. He's a fantastic guitar player. He's a fantastic
is.
personality. Great.
Yes.
And he's so easy to work with. He's
And
just
hilarious.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He's a goofball.
All those guys from KFD too, like all of them, they're fantastic people.
Yeah.
But so we have Carl, my dude Captain. He goes by Captain. His name's Adam. He's our bassist, been our bassist pretty much from the get go for the most part, and our drummer Nico as well. We haven't played a show with Nico yet though. We're planning on it, but
okay.
obviously that's not going to be happening anytime soon. So everybody's just kind of working on their own pace. We have a few plans out on the horizon right now. And right now it's just kind of laying low, staying in contact, being chill, having fun and that kind of stuff. And every once in a while, the Digital Havoc thing might come out. I might put something out. I'm always working on stuff, So yeah.
Right on. So, you had my head spinning because I was thinking y'all could get together and space yourselves apart and even wear masks and even sing with the masks and then have people like you could record it or go live. That would be interesting. Like super garage band, literally in a garage, but a really big garage.
That is an idea that I have played with, but I'm not entirely I'm not entirely sure
And throw in the
about that.
chickens.
Huh?
Throw
Oh,
in the
yeah.
chickens.
The
By the way,
chickens are definitely going to be a part of the next thing that we do, whatever
I'm
it
not sure
is.
who this is,
I
but
may or
Who's
may not
Basic
have
says
been
hi.
playing with that idea.
I don't know if you know who is Basic, but they're saying hi.
Hey, what's going on?
They're from
I don't know
Twitch.
who is Basic either.
They're from
I'm-
Twitch.
Oh, they're on
Welcome.
Twitch.
Welcome,
nice.
Who is Basic? Yeah, this is live right now on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch.
Oh, nice. Well, thanks
Because
for checking in.
Yeah, so let's dive into why we're kind of concerned with Facebook as of October 1st.
Oh, you know what? Okay.
Did you do more research on that?
I did.
Okay.
And it's actually kind of, people are going to have strong opinions about this. So yeah, let's talk about that for a minute.
Let's do it. Strong opinions. Go.
Strong opinions go. Okay, so here's the deal. In order to take a look at what Facebook is doing, you have to take a look at another platform like what YouTube is doing, and other platforms like Twitch and that kind of stuff. So the thing about how all of this works is Facebook came out with an announcement back on Friday, I think. And they basically left this vague description of what they're going to do in response to people playing music. They said that their purpose for video feeds on Facebook was to be personal. It's meant for like personal friends and family stuff, having fun and trying to have like a positive mindset on stuff and whatever they decide to do. Like I'm not going to rip on anybody for being whatever, but a lot of people had a problem with it because what people have been doing, especially more recently during the COVID stuff, is they have just been playing like live concerts from their living room. And I think that's awesome. I think that's an amazing feat. And to be
Facebook and
completely
Instagram.
honest, especially if it's your own material, like what better way to promote yourself than right freaking now? Especially people that are always, they're looking for something new. They're looking for something to listen to at home. And it's a lot easier to open up your phone or open up your computer and listen to a playlist at home while you're doing this than it is to even go to a live show, even when live shows were available at times. Like some people were not necessarily driven to do that. You have a lot of opportunity for new entertainment to come in. And I think that's great. But what Facebook did was they put out a warning, essentially that said, if you're playing music, if you're using the Facebook live feed or even uploading videos of music, especially in the form of playlists, did you remember to drink water today?
I'm just throwing that up for people to see. It's important to drink water.
Oh,
We're on
I thought that was
fire here
something
in California. Please drink your water. So,
Yes. Then anyway, so they put this warning out there. It's basically like, hey man, if you guys are using this to put out music, then we can flag it, or we could flag your account, or we'll straight up take it down. Like, it was super ominous because it didn't have a full description. So me, like everybody else that I knew that was involved in music, especially those that have been trying to do live performances on Facebook, they freaked out. So essentially, I saw a lot of people talking about it. It was kind of a big deal, and there just wasn't enough of a description straight up in Facebook's actual page itself that described the terms and conditions. I looked them up, and that's kind of basically what it said. However, they did come out with a statement yesterday that really kind of helped define it a little bit. So the idea is that Facebook is essentially cool with if you bust out your phone and you record a live concert of people playing live. That's not really a big deal. The problem comes down because what that means is when you open up a video, a live feed of a video, and you're recording something that's happening in front of you, technically you as the owner of the camera, like if you take a photo with a camera,
because you can screenshot everything from your phone now.
Well, yes, you could, but that's completely different. What I'm talking about is when you're on your camera,
Right.
or when you're using your camera and you take a picture of something in real life, you own that. You own the copyright to it, technically speaking. Now, when it comes to copyrighted music, though, something that is pre-recorded, performed, and then streamed out, that's a whole different story.
Okay.
If I took Metallica's playlist and I threw it on top of my own video, even my own footage, and I threw copyrighted music straight on it, they own that music. They don't own the video footage, but they own the music.
Correct.
The thing is you've got people that are using pre-recorded copyrighted music and using it in a format that makes it recognizable as what it is. So a lot of this is going to end up affecting guys like DJs that use pre-recorded music
Right.
in playlist and split from one song to another in a playlist style setup. Like that's who it's going to affect essentially most, or people that put up literally playlists of other people's copyrighted music to throw up on Facebook to listen to, because a lot of the time that stuff is either hard to track or you don't have the proper avenues to make sure that the people who made that music are paid for that performance.
Mhm.
That is entirely different from when you go on radio, or even if you go into a YouTube playlist. Now
Correct.
that I'm bringing YouTube into it, this is how YouTube works. YouTube has an entire network where they record and work with multiple artists, independent, major, otherwise, that allows them to broadcast music at will for anybody that wants to listen to it. So if you go onto YouTube and you search for Digital Havoc, you search for my band, and you start playing my videos on that channel, I go through another company that I have registered that music with, that then gets that playlist, and I am essentially paid, like my band is essentially paid royalties for the performance of that song
Of
on
course.
YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely.
One at a time. It's how Spotify works.
Correct.
It's how
Facebook is not set up, but Facebook
Yes.
could set up that way, but they'd rather not.
that is their choice essentially as a business.
their
And that's
choice.
what I get to. Right. So the difference is, now when YouTube originally started doing this, they actually did not do that. They were striking videos down before
Yeah.
they set up the network. This happened
true.
like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
People were having
I do
problems with it,
remember.
and it started affecting other people too. So if you released a cover song, if you had 5 or 6 seconds or 8 seconds or 10 seconds, whatever worth of another song by another artist that you use for intro music for something else, that video gets taken down. It's practically like, sometimes it's immediate, sometimes it's detected by an algorithm, that sometimes somebody's lawyer or representative is on there going, that's my band's music, or I represent that band, take that video down. And that's what it was, because those artists aren't getting paid.
Right.
So in order to circumvent this problem, YouTube essentially set up a network with an automated system that hears the digital footprint of XYZ band's music, or whoever artist's music, and goes, hey, that's somebody else's music. We're going to go ahead and take ad revenue for that, whether or not the video is put up for free, or if it's from what's called a monetized account or what have you. They take that and they throw that into the they take that and they throw that into the database, and they allow the band to make money off ad revenue for that music, which is completely fine. And it solves two problems, because the band makes money and the video stays up. So for the sake of entertainment, you have that. Right. Now, the problem is that Facebook is brand new at this. And people were actually at one point circumventing the fact that Facebook didn't have this network, so they would upload a video to Facebook instead of YouTube. And one of the things that Facebook, because they're a competing social network type company, just like YouTube, even though it uses video, is actually more of a social network than it is just a video platform. Facebook prioritizes their own videos, so people can use, or were using, Facebook to promote themselves in some way or another, because YouTube would block it or YouTube would take the money. So there were people that were taking advantage of this. Now, here's the thing, though. Going forward to last Monday, after all of this does not necessarily mean that Facebook is going to just take your video down because you're doing a live performance. They especially won't do it if you're doing a live performance of your own material. That's yours. Yeah, not a big deal.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if this is true or not, or how this is going to be regulated, because this hasn't even kicked in yet. But if you're doing a live performance of somebody else's song, that may or may not be a problem. I don't know.
Right.
And
because bands do cover that at times.
Bands do that. As a matter of fact, on my page, on the Ruling Note page, I just put out a cover of REM. I did it earlier this year. I put it up on YouTube.
I was playing it on this show before.
It's like a cover of, in case anybody wants to see it, it is on Facebook. And this actually went out like the week before they put the announcement. And I was like, oh God, what are they going to do?
Yours is, to me, that wouldn't do it, because someone would have to tell half of the world what that song was because you do it in such a different dramatic way. There's no way.
That
And you're not making
may
money off of it.
I am not making money off of it. However, I do not know whether or not I'm honestly like, I don't know the answer to this, and I am not a lawyer. I have no
Right.
clue
Right.
like how they're
Neither
going
am
to
I.
handle this. This comes down to whether or not Facebook handles it the way that they want to. Um, as far as I know, with YouTube, it's hit or miss depending on whether or not the band allows a cover of their song.
I know. I feel like I want to bring that
But it's
up.
best to be as honest as possible. And when you're trying to distribute, you actually need, if you're trying to distribute a cover for sale, or if you're trying to distribute it even online in a streaming platform, the system itself for that has essentially moved forward to help handle those situations when it comes down to making sure that an artist gets their rights, because there's songwriting royalties that are essentially deserved to the original artist who wrote the song, regardless of whether or not there's a change of style. That's irrelevant. And that's essentially all I did. I changed the style of it to it's more like a, I don't know, it could be somewhat considered parody, but I'm not exactly sure that it is.
Because it's not really
and
making
parody is a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, but say parody is like,
whoa.
to me, when I think of parody, I think of Weird Al Yankovic, and yes, I'm talking my generation right now, Gen X, and he got rights to do all that, and he even got permission, and a lot of the artists that he did the covers enjoyed what he did with those songs.
I actually am looking up that stuff on did you hear about the whole legal stuff with Two Live Crew when they did that? Like, I ended up having to look into Two Live Crew when I did.
You mean back in the day?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
yes.
When Roy Orbison's estate sued Two Live Crew for putting out Pretty Woman.
You know what? Actually, I didn't follow them enough to know that they actually did that.
Oh, so
I didn't know that they put out their version or whatever of Pretty Woman. Did they really?
They did.
Why?
They asked Roy Orbison's estate to put out their own version.
Okay.
And they never got a response as far as I remember. So they put it out anyway. And then the estate of Roy Orbison sued them because I believe the song used a recording of it was a sampled recording of the original opening guitar bass line.
Okay. Because that's what artists were doing then when they were doing the sampling and
right.
Okay, now it makes sense.
I'm telling you right now, if anybody tried to put out License to Ill, or something that was like License to Ill or anything like the White Zombie stuff, it would be practically impossible unless you were rich enough to pay all of the royalties for all the stuff. That includes like movie quotes and stuff. That's half the reason why White Zombie was able to get the career they did, is because they came out at the time that they did. Such as the same cases with most rap artists until they started.
Oh my gosh! Don't even start. Public Enemy, they mixed like a dozen songs in each song.
Oh yeah,
they were geniuses with that.
Go back and listen to License to Ill. The first song combined Sweet Leaf, the Sweet Leaf guitar riff from Black Sabbath, and When the Levee Breaks drum line, and know it is. It is that.
It's that obvious.
Unmistakably so.
The artist, and it was on the East Coast. So I watched those, the birth and legend and beginnings of hip hop. I mean, it was spoken word, and they wanted music backdrops. This is way before computers, and you didn't create your own beats. You had DJs and you had vinyl, and then scratching and mixing came along, and then someone said, "Let's put the two together. Let's put the spoken word, the rapping without, and then beatbox it or whatever." And I have so many 12-inch single vinyls of songs that blatantly just lifted it, took it, and sold it. So I get you on that one.
Oh yeah. So going back to Two Live Crew.
Yeah, please do, because I almost feel like I want to pull that up, but it's probably not even anywhere to pull up because they got sued.
It is such a crazy case. The case is so nuts that it's actually used as case study for lawyers.
Look this up while you're talking.
Now, if you go to law school, especially for music law, this is a major case study. It's funny, if you go to find Two Live Crew's Pretty Woman on YouTube, in the comment section, look in the comment section. I think one of the top comments, or the first one, is, "I wonder how many people are drawn to this video because they're studying law school."
Oh shoot. Well, okay, how about we just
joke.
Dude, okay, real quick, do you mind if I play it?
I don't, but I don't understand. I can't necessarily, I don't know what's gonna happen, but
nothing's gonna happen.
I don't know.
Not
I don't know
the
that
whole
part of the law.
song. Not the whole song. 20
But yeah, just
seconds
for an
of it.
example, and then I can go over it if you want. That's great.
Let's do that, because I really want to that's it, because I'm going to share with everybody your stuff too, because your stuff is
thanks.
dope.
Yeah, thank you.
So here we go. Are we on it? Okay.
See, there it is. That's a straight sample.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I swear to you that it's like they just tried to be like freaking when Run DMC did Walk This Way with
Right.
Aerosmith, but obviously
Right.
they did it together, so that's why it worked. I feel like they were just sort of stealing that idea, and
Okay, so get this.
but there's another band that did that too with Wipeout. Do you remember?
They covered the song Wipeout?
Oh, you keep talking. I'm gonna find it.
Okay. So here's the thing. You're talking about things that's more like a cover. Like Run DMC
No,
doing
it's
Walk
not-
This
it's
Way with
not-
Aerosmith
it's
is
not a
technically a cover, quote unquote.
That's
but what
true.
Two Live Crew did, that's technically parody, because what they did was they took the part of the song, and this is what was argued in court. They took the part of the song that was recognizable so that people knew and understood it. And then what they ended up doing was changing the lyrics to make it mean something entirely different. That's what Weird Al does. That's technically what Weird Al does.
Yeah. Oh
And
no, totally.
that's what constitutes as parody. It's actually written in. There's laws written into what constitutes as parody. It's protected under free speech.
God, what was
But the crazy part about the case was that they were essentially sued because they asked for the rights to do it as if it was a cover first.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
then they released it. However, what ended up
Lies.
happening was the song deviated so much from the original material. Like the Van Halen cover of Pretty Woman is a straight ahead cover. It's the same lyrics. It's the same guitar riff. It's just done in the style of Van Halen because that's what they did at the time. But Two Live Crew changed it entirely. They ended up creating an entirely different song that had different lyrics, even though it's to the same melody. It's parody. It changes the meaning of the song by changing the lyrics entirely. Now, that being said, the argument in the Supreme Court was that I don't believe that they actually awarded it. I think they passed on the case and brought it back down. If I remember correctly, it's been a while since I've taken a look at it. But
Okay.
what ended up happening was it went all the way up to the Supreme Court. And yeah, and the Supreme Court, the argument for passing the law back down so that it was settled, because they ended up settling out of court after everything was done.
Okay.
But the law itself, like the Supreme Court had to line out exactly what constituted a parody and why this did or did not fit. And then they set out specific rules that says a parody has to reference the original piece in some way. And then on top of that, they also have to, but it also has to be able to deviate so that it does either poke fun or say something different to where it changes the meaning of the song to mean something entirely different. Like you could change the title, you could change the lyrics, you can use that. But the original title of the song is technically Oh Pretty Woman, not Pretty Woman. A lot of people call it Pretty Woman, but it's actually Oh Pretty Woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, didn't Vanilla Ice went through all that with his sample of the Queen song?
Yes.
And he tries to
because-
lie and say that it was different because it was dun 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 or whatever
right.
he was
He's
trying
like,
to say.
I
And
added
it's like,
one note. Yeah, yeah. That didn't fly.
That
They
doesn't
totally
fly
yeah,
at all.
That didn't fly at all. And here's the thing, that was different because it doesn't reference anything
Nothing.
in the song that has to do with the lyrics. If he starts singing that song and then changes the lyrics and stays with the melody of it, which that's obviously what he didn't do. He took a recognizable line and inserted it into another song. That's different than referencing a song and then changing it so that it becomes some form of satirical joke.
Gotcha.
And that's actually one of the things I talk about with in reference to the Beatallica video. When I put out a video on a mashup band. You're familiar with mashups, right? You know what those are?
Oh, totally. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay. I love the hell out of mashups because they'll take
Me
two
too.
songs and
My daughter
yeah,
shares
mash
them
them
with
up
me all the time.
So what now?
My daughter, she shares them with me all the time because she's always
Oh,
on
dude.
YouTube. She's like, "Mom, you got to hear this." And
This is mashups are amazing, but this band is called Beatallica, so it's a mashup band.
I
of the
remember I
Beatles.
saw your little video and it
You
was
did.
amazing.
Oh yeah, if
Holy
there's anybody
heck.
who's seen this hasn't seen the video, go check it out. It's honestly one of the most interesting stories that I've ever heard of come from the internet. And the guys that I got a hold of, a few of the guys to interview them. It was an amazing experience. I couldn't be more grateful. Like it's fantastic. But
yeah, you shared
that's a
on your
whole.
YouTube page, right? On the Ruling Note page, or is it on a different
It's
or
on our.
YouTube?
It's on, yeah. It's on the Ruling Note Music. So
Okay,
Ruling Note Music on YouTube. If you go to youtube.com/Ruling Note Music, you can find the video there. It's the most recent one in the playlist.
good. Yes.
Yeah.
Good to know that. The memories of remembering when artists were first doing that and being young and not knowing that laws would be involved. You know, you don't, as a fan, you don't usually pay attention to the legalities of music. You just are excited to hear music, and then bands start doing that. And it's, I don't know, I should say bands, music artists, because Fat Boy's not a band. But
Well, yeah, band artists,
yeah,
just musical entities,
yeah.
depending on what that is. Like, yeah, it's getting. I got really interested in that.
Oh, yeah. You cover a lot of that on your YouTube page,
Yeah, yeah,
which is really cool.
I got really interested in that, especially with. I love one of the things I always loved as a kid, and just kind of getting into music in general, were covers. I always loved covers. It's how you introduce yourself as a talent to
Yep.
anybody, is the ability to play something to the point where people enjoy it, whether or not it's faithful to the original work.
Right. And
Um,
usually when you started playing music, you would try to emulate people you idolized. And
right.
that's often how you learned to play an instrument or sing a song,
Yeah.
was you were doing your own version of karaoke. So yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
Oh.
that's pretty much it. So I've
So then
always
for
been.
you, let's reach back into your past. Do you remember the first song you learned on guitar?
Oh man.
Let's go back, because you play every freaking instrument. So, which I'm going to pull up your video in a second.
Uh, Boy, the first song I learned on guitar.
Yeah.
Okay, so my dad was a guitar player, and he would teach me like straight chords and stuff way back. But some of the earliest material that I remember, especially when I really got into playing guitar, when I was like, I didn't really get into it until I was like 13, 14,
Okay.
was hammering out like Stone Temple Pilots stuff. Like that's one of the first riffs.
grunge days.
But then I really, really got into like more classic stuff after that. So Van Halen for a while was like one of my favorite
Oh,
bands.
Eddie Van Halen, please.
Yeah. And
Was he hard to try to copy, like with the
yes,
his
the
his
chord
runs and
phrasing
his
he
solos?
uses is very different from a lot of other guitar players.
Okay.
And I'm not talking even the lead stuff. I mean, like, it's unless you have like a Floyd, you can't even play Somebody Get Me a Doctor. It
Really?
just doesn't. Yeah, and that's one of my favorite songs by them. And I still like, unless you're really doing a lot of bending, like you can it can be pulled off. Like there's a lot of guitarists a lot better than I am. And I'm one of the okayest guitar players that you will ever come across, but that is one of my favorite songs to play. I love
Yeah.
it. And then after that, I got into Metallica, and it was
And
straight
then you
from
were
there.
done.
I went back. I was like Motorhead, Sabbath, like all
All
the
of it.
super.
And what is
classic
it that
metal stuff.
attracts you to that style of playing? Because that's really what we're
It's-
going to get down to. Not even listening to the music as a fan, because it's so different when you hear a song versus when you break it down. So what is it about that style of guitar that really draws you?
To me, it's beefy and it's intense, and there's still a lot of depth and emotion that can
Okay.
come along with it.
Okay.
If you like, you can. There's plenty of artists, especially metal artists, that have backgrounds in jazz and in classical music and all this kind of stuff. And metal for a long time, and even today, like a lot of people listen to, they, especially if they have a passive listen at metal, they think it's just like way too super in your face, or just it's always angry or it's always in your face or whatever. Like the amount of depth and breadth of metal in a genre there's so much. There's styles on top of styles, and it could be the lyrical content, or it could be just the rhythmic content. I also like hearing like people flip genres right in mid song.
Okay.
One of my favorite bands is a band called, I don't know if they're still doing stuff. I think last I checked they were still doing stuff, to play in small clubs. But they were launching pretty huge. They were from Puerto Rico. They're called Puya.
Oh, dang. Okay.
And dude, anything off the Fundamental album from Puya.
You're gonna have to send that to me because I want to listen.
Yes. Oh, dude, it's amazing. I don't even think they have a lot of that stuff on like YouTube. I kept trying to look it up, couldn't really find it. I think somebody like pirated the album in a full playlist. Maybe I'll find it somewhere. And I'll link you.
If you can't find it on YouTube, where would you find it? Their website?
If they have it up on their website, most of these guys have. It depends on certain time frames and periods, whether or not these guys are on or are even taking care of that, putting it out. Honestly, like the only stuff that I have of Puya is like hard copies backed up on my computer.
Snap back in the day. Okay.
Yeah.
God, I still many hard copies of local music.
Yeah, I still keep like scores and scores of CDs, and now I'm starting to collect vinyl because it's just, God, it sounds good.
And okay, so I want to play everyone your song because I played it at someone else. It's so fucking good. And then I want to go into the whole topic of vinyl because I love vinyl, but that's of course my time. So look at Here You Are. We're gonna share you, y'all. This is Mike, and he did this amazing cover of, which is so timely, right? It's REM's "End of the World."
Yeah,
but he does it to the tune of Slipknot.
Yeah,
and it's like brilliant. And of course, he's playing every instrument because that's Mike.
Oh, thank you.
That great starts with an earthquake, birds, snakes, and aeroplanes, but Bruce is not afraid.
I have a hurricane, listen to yourself, sure. Words of its own needs, don't miss the running speed up, not speed, but no straight. The ladder starts flat with fear, high down, high fire in a fire reference to 7 games, and the cover for hire in a combat site. Lecter wasn't coming in a hurry with the furies bleeding down the neck. Team by team, the first map cut to cut. Look at that little play blindness. Overflow population coming through, no to sing a song, serious out. Wall such stone needs to fear, heart bleed, double with the raptor and the revenue line. Right, the material is shared, slip, I brand like given precise. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. And I feel fine. 6 o'clock to the hours of the point.
That was amazing. I swear to you, I rocked to that all the time. I would have had that on loop when you first released that because I thought, now for me, the genre doesn't appeal to me unless there's a beat that I can follow because I grew up with soul, R&B. I grew up with earlier notes of hip hop before it became the hard stuff that it did. Well, I don't even know. Let's not even talk about it. It's not even hard now. But when, I mean, it's funny because what they called hard rock now or then is more pop now because you know how styles evolve. But for me, there had to be like a beat and there had to be some, which is why I can't get into Jay-Z's music because it's like, fuck, you don't rhyme. So, and your flow is like, my whole thing was if I can't do your song in karaoke, I'm not touching it. And so, but you took a song that's a pop song, so it has the beat. You kept that beat and then you made it heavy as fuck, and it was like I could feel like I would literally have sex to that song because there's such a beat to it, but it's so like heavy and it's and I thought, shit, look at Mike, look at him fucking roll. So
thanks, man.
Thanks for covering that. I think you should do more of those because that's amazing. In fact, that might be a segment you could do on your podcast where you take songs from that in-between generation and then you throw in your heavy elements to it and even just do like a 45-second, like it doesn't have to be the whole song. You could do like
just
40,
something
like 45-second snippets. Why not? I think because you would rock at it. You play every instrument. Okay, wait, what instrument don't you play?
I am not a saxophonist.
Okay.
Or a piano player, really.
No keyboards? Okay.
No, I'm not really a keyboard player. Like I can dink around on a keyboard and find a chord, but I can't keep up. Like, and I don't jam most of the time either. Like, but yeah, I'm most comfortable with like guitar and bass.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't even know you played bass, but so the transition to bass, it is different, right, from guitar?
It's where you sit in. It's for me, it's where you like sit in the mix. Most of the time, like people that play bass just kind of copy the guitar line for the most part. Okay. And guilty is charged.
Guilty
like,
is charged.
I am not a bassist in the least bit. I just happen to have one so that I could play a bass line. But the art of bass, like the real art of bass, like your Victor Wootens, your Les Claypools, and that kind of stuff, dude, that is untouchably crazy. But
who are some of your favorite bass artists?
Well, them two.
Those two.
Geddy Lee is a huge, wonderful bassist. But gosh, John Entwistle. Oh man. John Entwistle was heavy bass before Cliff Burton was born, man. Like, oh, and Cliff Burton's another huge one. Like, there's a lot of good bassists that have fantastic tone that you just don't even like. There's this one of my favorite guys right now is a dude that, have you seen this video cycling around like Facebook and YouTube, or it's like a TikTok video or something? And it's this guy that I want to say he's a Pacific Islander. I know that.
Okay.
But he plays a salsa bass line on top of Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Stop
and
it.
just murders it. He does so sick.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look that up.
It changes the entire feel of the whole song. It turns into a salsa dance number. And dude, the guy just like, he gets hella into it, like he does it in like news interviews and stuff, and you're just watching. The bass tone isn't that great because they like DI'd it in like a news conference somewhere. Like it, I think it's I think it's the Philippines, maybe. I'm not positive, but I think it might be. But anyways, they're like, yeah, they're oh man, he's so good. He's so good. He turns the whole song freaking upside down, and then all of a sudden he gets super into it. He's like sitting in his chair playing the part, and then he gets up and starts dancing along with it at the same time and changes like the whole feel of it. Just walking around like tripping over his own cable, but just like flawless, absolutely flawless. It's the most entertaining thing I've ever seen.
See, I love those.
Good.
I love when artists can get creative, like you did with that, where you take it in a direction you didn't think would work, and it just works. I think that's my favorite thing of all of mashups, is that when you don't think it would work and it works. It's the most amazing thing.
I'm a huge fan of that kind of stuff. I love seeing like genre change ups or even like updates on stuff where, you know, different versions of songs I've always had an infatuation for.
So then what drew you to going, I should say, not even back to, because you didn't start with it, but with vinyl?
Yeah.
Like what was your draw to it, besides the fact that it's analog and it's a lot richer of a sound?
The science behind it, and the fact that I have done stuff. I've never put anything on vinyl. Like, I would love to put like Digital Havoc on vinyl. That is like a dream of mine. But it is so damned expensive to actually get done.
Yes.
I'm not saying it's unachievable. It's
it's damn expensive.
But I'll make it happen. I'll make it happen eventually. But my fascination with vinyl was, I mean, there's always the nostalgia behind it, right? Like my grandma and my aunt had a copy of Thriller that I'd listened to when I was like 3.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
And so that's kind of like what it always brings me back to. But as far as that, like, there is a richness to it, but I could get into the technological thing about that. But I think I'm actually going to make a video on that, because
you should
be surprised what actually makes that super rich sound that a lot of people like fawn over vinyl for.
Yeah, please do. I mean, I've interviewed artists in the past when vinyl was first making that comeback, and I want to say it was like 2014, I think 2013, when the young people were like, oh yeah, we're gonna do vinyl. And then I had interviewed a couple of artists, and they didn't realize how much space just bass takes up in recording on vinyl, you know, because that's why digital is so much easier for everybody just to make their music. It's such it is an easier platform to upload. It's not as expensive. You can do it yourself, but vinyl is a work of art. Vinyl is a work of art.
Yes, very much so. Learning about the lathe, the RIAA curve, like all that kind of stuff that goes into making a vinyl record work. Like, that's why if you ever want to listen to the greatest record that was ever put on vinyl, and I will swear this up and down, and I know there are plenty of people that will not agree with me, but
I'm going to banner this. What is it?
Dark Side of the Moon is the best record because, and I learned about this, limiting a lot of the Dark Side. No, that's Bark at the Moon.
Oh,
Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd.
Pink Floyd, duh. Okay, sorry.
The reason why is because their producer, Alan Parsons, you've probably heard of the Alan Parsons Project, but didn't know who the guy is. He was a producer for in the 70s, and it was Dark Side of the Moon was an experiment in dynamics when it came down to just musical expression and being able to create a journey of music. That's why it's so heralded. That's why it was on the charts for like the last like 40 years, like constant pretty much. I think it dropped off the chart for like 1 or 2 years, and then it came back, and it's
Well, when you
the
say Pink
longest
Floyd, I
charting
already believe
record
that.
in history. Huh?
I already believe that when you say that. But then, okay, even though you say that, that's not with your experience of listening to every song ever on vinyl either. That's just
No.
all the vinyl you have come across.
Yes.
That is your
There's a-
favorite.
That is my favorite because of the vinyl that I came across. That is my favorite because it explores the medium of vinyl in the best way sonically that I've ever heard. And like having a copy of it, I can tell you that. There's even remastered ones that you could pick up. To be completely honest, if you could find an original pressing of that and it's in really, really, really good shape, get it.
Oh my gosh,
Get it?
that's like finding comics in their original.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh
Right?
yeah. It's yeah. It's holy grail, man. It's a total
The Holy Grail
piece.
of vinyls, the
Yeah.
original press of Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd. Get it? It's probably worth a lot if you find it. If you were to
Yes.
try to go on eBay, I'm sure someone would just rape the crap out of you to sell it to you.
Oh yes, very much so. Yeah, it goes for a mint. It still goes for a mint. I've looked it up. It's pretty crazy.
So I take it you have a player at home and you collect this and you play them, or do you just collect them and then put them on a frame and then stick them up on your wall? Or I mean, what's the extent
I
of
collect
your...
them. I collect them when I can.
Okay.
Used record stores are like the best place to go ever.
that are
but-
still standing? Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. Dimple's gone. Have you gone to the cave yet? Out here?
What?
Out in Folsom?
I
Okay.
haven't gone anywhere.
One of the guys that used to
We're in a
manage-
pandemic.
Okay.
It's called the Cave.
It's called the Cave.
Okay.
One of the guys that used to manage Dimple, like did it for like 25 years, I think. He was part of the company for that long, and he was there until the end.
Okay.
Him and one of the guys, I believe it's the son of Dimple's original owners, put
Okay.
together a single store that is basically
Oh.
Dimple on steroids. So
And it's still
Dimple
there.
did, Dimple did vinyl. They did, not in the same. I think it's in where Dimple used to be in Folsom. That's
I
where
know
it
where that is. Okay.
That's where the cave is. Go check it out. It's like
'Cause
I
it's
call it
over by
Dimple
the
on steroids
DMV.
because it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's over by the DMV. It does comic books. It does clothing,
My
magazines.
childhood.
We're
Empire
talking
Records.
collectible toys, vinyl, CDs, like
Yeah.
old video games, all of it. And
All of
it's
it.
just this huge collectible store, essentially.
So the Cave in Folsom, California. I'm gonna hit that. Are they open now? Probably not.
Yes,
Oh shit. Okay,
yes,
I'm
they
gonna go.
are, and
I'm
they
gonna put a mask on. I'm gonna go.
They handle their stuff when it comes down to mask policy. They have a good, strict mask policy.
Good.
And they're a local shop. They're like one of the best collectible. They're like the only collectible store I know of now. Like,
Oh.
yeah, they're the only collectible store I know of aside from like maybe finding a diamond in a thrift store somewhere. If you
Gotcha.
happen to like be in a Goodwill at the right place at the right time. These
And
guys,
it's a local owned store, so you're supporting local
They're
when you
locally
go there
owned.
and purchase
Yep.
stuff. So,
they
and
are
I'm
locally
down. I'm
owned.
down
Go
with
check
that.
out the cave for sure.
I'm gonna go check it out.
Yes.
So what? Okay, the Cave in Folsom, California. Y'all go. It's in the older
Yes.
part of Folsom, over by the DMV, where Dimple Records used to be. Now, do you have a player? Are you playing the music
Do I have a player like a
for the
record
vinyl?
player?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I have a direct drive turntable. I want to say it's I think it's one of the older Technics ones, but it's not like a 1200. No, I'm sorry, it's a Stanton. The one that I
Okay.
have is a Stanton. I wish I could get a 1200. An SL 1200. That's like that's the top. That's the way to go. But yeah, that's what I'm working with. That's what I'm working with right now. I actually like, even when I take my vinyl and I'll take it and I'll back it up on my computer too, just for the hell of it. Throw it on a little iPod or something like that.
So then, definitely, please, on your next or one of the next videos on your Ruling Note YouTube, please do a little video on vinyl. I would totally watch it. And
Totally.
we're getting close to the hour mark, so are we good with calling this?
Yeah, I think we're good for now. I actually
right.
have to. Yeah,
You have to
I
jet?
actually have to get going myself, unfortunately.
Cool. No. We've almost hit an hour. We're just doing so well. So I thank you so much, Mike,
Thank
for
you
hopping on
having me.
here.
This is so much fun.
Yeah, and you
So
you
cool.
shared a lot of stuff that I learned. So everybody, that's Mike King. Please follow him. He's on Facebook. He's got his own YouTube channel called The Ruling Note. You'll want to see his video about Metallica. It's the mashup of the Beatles, Metallica. It's an actual band, and they
Yep.
did great success, and he does an incredible job covering this whole story.
Yeah.
Please follow him. And thank you again. This is Myki signing off with the Bad Filipino. Tune in a couple of hours at 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. I'm coming back today with my good friend Brandon Freeman of the band Cloud Ship.
Yeah.
So this is Myki and Mike signing off.
Y'all have a good
Have
one.
a great day.